Starstruck, an Adrienette, neighbors and famous person, and fake dating alternate universe Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction, Chapter 8. Originally, Marinette was going to come home, eat dinner, and crash. The past week has been extraordinarily exhausting, and she really needs one of those easy days. She could feel the Epsom salt bath calling her name from the moment she walked into her home and yawned. But before she could run the bath and fall asleep at a time that made her feel a little bit too old, she received a text on her phone. "Hey, do you want to have a movie night? I found an old DVD in my house and thought maybe you want to watch it with me. It's okay if you're busy though. Don't worry about it too much." Marinette squints at her phone, blinking to stay awake. Adrien has asked her to have a movie night. Isn't that a real couple sort of thing to do? She wonders it for a second before brushing the thought away. Friends had movie nights too. It wasn't an exclusively romantic activity. Adrien is just being friendly and considering the fact that the whole world already thinks they're madly in love. It's okay to be a little comfortable. It might even be good for their later public showings or whatever, make them seem like a real couple. "Sure, just give me a couple minutes and I'll be over," she texts back. Marinette puts on some comfy pajamas and checks her appearance. She looks fine. A little smeared makeup here and there. Her under eyes are a bit dark, but all in all, she looks okay. It's not a red carpet look in the slightest bit, though that may be in her near future. But she doesn't really need to look like she just stepped out of a 5-star salon. Marinette locks her apartment door with a soft click and shuffles her items in hand to knock on Adrien's door. He opens the door almost immediately after she has hit the wood. His smile is bright and excited. It's like the one a young 7-year-old has on when his first birthday guest arrives at the party. "Hey," Adrien says brightly. Marinette smiles and allows Adrien to lead her into the apartment. "You're here so quick," he jokes. Marinette laughs a bit. "Oh, it's just such a long trek here," she says teasingly. "You owe me for the long trip." They both laugh. The black-haired girl looks around the apartment. It is vastly different from her own. The layout seems pretty similar, only flipped around. Her hallway, bedroom, and bathroom are facing the left, and Adrien's are facing the right. But it's mostly the decor that looks different. Not that it's a huge surprise. Marinette had been very specific when she picked up all of the furniture for her new apartment. She is an interior designer after all. Her skills are quite useful in that sense. Adrien's apartment was a bit more chaotically decorated. There is no real theme. The color of the sofa and walls and tables all look nice, but they're all warm-toned. The balance is off in that sense. And the layout is a lot more practical and structural than it is in Marinette's house. Hers ebbed and flowed with a stylistic approach. "Sorry, my house, it's not great," Adrien admits sheepishly. Marinette looks at him and shakes her head. No, she says quickly, not wanting him to feel embarrassed about his own home. "It's cute," she says, being totally serious. Marinette is the type of person to admire things, not judge them. "I was just noting how different our apartments look, and yet they basically had the same base," she explains, scanning over the layout again. Her brain spirals with ideas on how to make the space look more open and less pushed in the middle. "We definitely like different decorating patterns," she laughs. Adrien nods in agreement. Marinette's apartment is decorated and furnished in a cutesy cafe sort of way. She had always liked the lighter pink tones and coffee brown shades. It also helped that she knows the best way to maximize a small space. Adrien doesn't have that same background, and his home looks a little more akin to a modern mid-century magazine showroom. There are a lot less decorations, and most things are rich brown or dark green and black. Does it look bad? Adrien asks nervously. It looks great, she tells him honestly. Adrien smiles proudly and he motions his arms towards the sofa. On the table in front of the couch are glasses of water and some popcorn. He looks all ready for a movie night, and Marinette appreciates the preparedness. I hope you like the snacks, he says, slightly nervously. Marinette seats herself on the leather couch and flashes a grin at Adrien. Who doesn't like popcorn? She says happily, before grabbing a handful. Adrien looks relieved and pleased with himself. He also sits down on the couch, although a bit far away. He gives Marinette a big, fluffy blanket to keep warm, and she appreciates it. Shutting down the lights, the movie begins to play, starting with opening credits and title rolls. The apartment is silent bar for the munching on snacks and cinematic music. I'm gonna be totally honest. This is my first movie night with a friend, Adrien admits nervously. Is it okay if I talk during it? I know some people think it's rude to talk during movies, but I've always talked about the movie out loud because I never really got to watch things with other people. He asks, flickering his eyes towards Marinette. She smiles and nods. It's fine. I talk during movies too, she says, and his posture relaxes. Besides, it's more fun to actually discuss what's going on the screen than just staring blankly at it, she says with a smile. Adrien laughs and smiles his agreement. The movie really begins with a black and white filter. The camera slowly pulls up from the ground. The scene is rainy and sad, and of a woman holding an umbrella with tears falling down her face. The woman is beautiful, despite the crying. That's my mother, Adrien mutters, pointing to the screen ever so slightly. Marinette is slightly taken aback before she remembers that Adrien's mother is the queen of all movie actresses, Emily Agreste, nee de Vanley. With how low-key Adrien presents himself as, and how casual they are with each other now, Marinette oftentimes forgets that he's actually a megastar and one of the most beloved and famed young celebrities out there. His mother is one of the most beloved recent actresses who passed away at a young age. There were specific days mourning her, and the extent of her fame and Adrien's influence starts to make Marinette's head spin. She always remembered this fact in the back of her head. I mean, it was why she was fake dating him after all. But it still didn't stop the wall of shock that came when she recalled that, yeah, this man is so famous, he could make the Queen of England squeal. When Marinette looks back from the screen to Adrien's side profile, she realizes exactly where he got his stunning looks from. The thought of that makes her blush, and she thanks the dark for hiding it. She's beautiful, Marinette says kindly. Adrien's smile widens. She was the most beautiful, he sighs. Marinette feels her heart ache for him, and she reaches out a hand to condole him. He smiles and allows her to rest her hand atop his own. And kind. My mother was very kind, Adrien says in almost a whisper. Lightly, Marinette squeezes his fingers. I see where you got that personality trait, she tells him. He looks at her with the most wonder-filled and appreciative eyes. Marinette nods and turns back to the screen, ignoring her quickening heartbeat. They watch as the movie progresses. Most of it is a flashback, and suddenly they're watching Emily act as a teenager in high school, despite the fact that she looked 22. It's a steep contrast from the first scene, but Emily is bouncing off the screen. Her character is a cheerleader in high school. and it's there, and she's naive and free-floating. My mother told me that during this scene, the extra that is right, that one right there, they would come up with such a funny little backstory for their character that she started laughing the first 3 times they tried to film the scene, Adrien explains with a grin. Marinette looks at him, skeptical, but very amused. Really? She laughs. Yep, Adrien swears. Aunt Aubrey was not happy about it. It takes a moment for Marinette to remember that Aunt Aubrey to Adrien was really Audrey Bourgeois, acclaimed magazine queen and movie director. Her brain melts for another second. Right, she's surrounded by a bunch of famous people. Any other insider tidbits you can tell me? Marinette says with a grin. Adrien nods excitedly. Oh, I have a lot. Can't wait to hear them then. As the movie goes on, so does their conversation. Marinette finds herself laughing at every little thing that Adrien points out. The movie is definitely on the serious and sad side. The title was Solitude, after all. But she didn't realize how many mess-ups happened along the way of making a movie. The knowledge of so many funny things happening on set definitely helped her to not start sobbing in front of Adrien. The storyline, it was beautiful. Perhaps a bit cliche in the beginning, but beautiful. The popular cheerleader girl meets the quiet musician whom she ends up falling for, to only find out that he's terminally ill. And they only have so much time left together in the world. She's heard of some American movies with similar premises, but only with flipped genders. My mom told me that those flowers kept making her co-star Valerie sneeze. They had to stop filming because she couldn't stop sneezing, and they brought in a doctor. And that's how she found out she was allergic to lilies, Adrien explains. Marinette looks at him bug-eyed. Oh, that's awful, she cries out with a laugh. Oh, definitely. The serious scenes were always undercut with a sniffle until they replaced it all with fake flowers, Adrien points out. See, that one flower in the back is it's really fake because they couldn't make the bouquet full enough and they just had to stuff a random one in. Movie sets can be really crazy, Adrien says. Wow, that makes me feel better, Marinette jokes. I swear, I am a total mess. It's nice to know that big budget movies are too, she says, falling back onto the couch. It's now that Marinette realizes how closely they had inched towards each other throughout the movie. Early on, they were clearly on different sides of the sofa. Now, her head was nearly touching his shoulder. It made her feel giddy and kiddish and really warm all at once. Marinette shoos away all of the stupid, lovesick schoolgirl thoughts from her head. She shifts her eye line back towards the movie, watching as the climax of the on-screen fight plays out. She notes how talented of an actress Emily really was. It's common knowledge that she was young when filming the movie, but she was really, really good at acting. The true emotions she puts in the performance, and the accurate, minute facial details, it all feels so realistic. Perhaps if she had more time, Emily would have dominated the film industry, more than she already did. My dad used to quote this next scene to my mom. It's one of my earliest memories of them, Adrien mutters softly. He drops his head ever so slightly. It's really romantic, Marinette comments. Her eyes are feeling heavy, and it's probably the tiredness finally catching up with her. Again, she feels her head tilt down, and without meaning to, she rests on Adrien's shoulder. For a split second, her sleep-hazed mind registers the tense feeling, but it goes away very quickly. Adrien begins to hum softly, and the movie's audio sounds blur and sound far away. Marinette's body cries for sleep, and she's just about to give in. And I told myself I wouldn't do this. Not to you, not to me. I told myself it would only end in heartbreak, but God, I feel so alive with you, even when I'm so close to death. And I now remember why they say sometimes we humans are so selfish. It's because we find someone so good that we can't let go, that we can't even let them go. And I can't let you go. Marinette barely hears Adrien mutter the lines with the actors on the screen. She hears a faint sobbing from the TV, and her eyes close before drifting off into sleep. She feels a slight weight on her head, and she guesses it's Adrien's head. It doesn't register that she's cuddling with Adrien Agreste just yet. Instead, Marinette reacts with a faint smile and a fluttering heartbeat into a pleasant sleep.